The following is a presentation of the Waynesburg University Sports Network.
Welcome back to the Waynesburg University Sports Network. It's been a while since we've had much coverage, but PAC basketball, and more importantly, Waynesburg basketball, is back in action. I'm Matt Mansfield alongside Chris Hulse and Adam Morganti to break down everything we need to know about today's game as well as the rest of the PAC season. But before we get into all the details about that, the PAC has had a few different changes in guidelines, such as no fans being allowed at games and a lot of different COVID testing protocols. But for more on that, WCTV's Riley Holsinger has the details.
Leg underneath Alonzo!
That clip was from last season when the Rudy Marisa Fieldhouse was being rocked during a game. However, this season, it won't be rocked due to no fans in attendance or students in the student section. The President's Athletic Conference released a statement saying that no outside fans will be allowed to attend. The news release also mentioned that schools will determine if on-campus student attendance will be allowed at their facilities. The Waynesburg University administration, including Adam Jack, made the decision on whether students would be allowed at Waynesburg University basketball games, and here's Adam Jack's answer.
Waynesburg made the decision through conversation that we were not going to allow students in for a number of reasons.
His two reasons are that the Waynesburg University Sports Network can broadcast every single home game, as well as the Rudy Marisa Fieldhouse not having the best logistics to follow COVID-19 guidelines for fans. Waynesburg men's basketball players like Isaiah Alonzo are going to miss the fans' impact this upcoming season.
I would love any type of fans, any student section to come into the game. A lot of people don't realize how big of a factor fans or student sections really take into a game because of the energy, because of the heckling of the other team getting in their head. It all plays a huge part.
Waynesburg Student Athletic Advisory Committee played a big role last season in increasing attendance at basketball games. Even though there is no students allowed yet, the SAC still plans on being interactive with students during games to cheer on the Yellow Jackets.
Possibly having a virtual student section present at the game, maybe getting a screen. The administration is looking into those kind of possibilities right now.
However, if the screen doesn't work out, Deal and the rest of SAC have other ideas.
Talking with President Lee about having a watch party for either just one or multiple of the games up in the Beehive.
Alonzo hopes that the attendance restrictions will change by the end of the season.
I really hope that in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, as we're still playing, that hopefully we can still get fans in here and have a good atmosphere for Woo basketball.
Even though spectators won't be allowed at the Rudy Marisa Fieldhouse for games, they will be able to watch the action on the Waynesburg University Sports Network on the YouTube page WUDP. Balling and reporting for Channel 14 Sports, I'm Riley Holsinger.
Thank you, Riley. So the PAC has had to do a lot to get this basketball season in order, and they've decided to change the format of how this season's going to work. You're not going to see an extended season. You're not going to see a ton of games. It's going to be more of a round-robin format within the conference. So Adam, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on this new format and how it's going to affect the season?
I really do like this new format, Matt, because of the time that they have to complete the season. They're only playing 9 games. They're only playing every team in the PAC once, and the other thing, too, about it is it limits travel because normally you'd go to every single PAC game since you play them twice, but it limits travel where you only have to go on the road 4 or 5 times. So that's one of the biggest things that the PAC wanted to do was the less travel, obviously, during this pandemic, the better, and they definitely accomplish it, and the format really does make sense with it being late January, early February that they have to get the games in, and they also want the PAC tournament to start the first week of March. And the other thing, too, is normally for the PAC tournament format, every team except for one makes a tournament. But now every single team makes it, but there's still that pressure to where the more games you win, the better seed you get, even though you are guaranteed a spot in the tournament.
All right, so yeah, I think it's going to be a very unique format for sure. So Chris, what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, yeah, I agree with pretty much everything that Adam said there. Obviously, limiting travel, limiting exposure is extremely important for these PAC schools. But also making sure that the PAC postseason can start on time is tremendously important. Obviously, not just with basketball, but with other sports going on. Still, with the round-robin format, every team gets to face off against each other at least once. So you have an idea of where teams stand, and like Adam says, everybody's going to make it into the postseason. But I think, from the moment Waynesburg tips off today, every game is going to feel like a must-win because you want to improve your standing that much.
And we're going to learn a little bit more about that decision at the halftime show. Riley Holsinger interviewed Joe Anderko to discuss that amongst many other things. But yeah, I do agree with you guys. It's obviously COVID times are very different. It's a difficult time for everyone. So the fact that we can even get in this season is really awesome. And then the fact that they changed the format, I think it's going to make things very interesting. It's going to be a very unique season for sure. So overall, you cut the season down. You're only going to play this in what? A month? You pretty much have a month to play your season. How does that impact teams having such a short time frame to compete for playoff seeding, to compete overall? What do you think that's going to do to these teams?
Well, I think it will be important for every team, obviously. You can't get off to a slow start. And you look at a lot of teams in the PAC, some teams, they don't have many of their starters coming back. And Waynesburg, for example, they have 11 freshmen and 4 transfers. So they're really a very young team. So if you want to look at it from Waynesburg's perspective, they are going to have to get off to a really good start. I know there isn't many people coming back from last season. You look at Brisson Bennett, Ryan Felberg, Isaiah Alonso, Matt Popek. He played in only 2 games and had a season-ending injury. Those are really the only guys that had key playing time last season. Everyone else is very new, so you really don't have much room for error in this season. And Waynesburg is going to not have much time to find that team chemistry with a bunch of new guys in Tim Fusina's team.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think in the early parts of most season, that's when you have teams sort of trying to shake off the rust. They're getting new guys adjusted to the playing situation. They're figuring out their rotation. That was key last year for Waynesburg. Matt Popek got injured during a preseason tournament, and Waynesburg still had time to figure out, okay, who's going to step in the lineup in his place? How are we going to divvy up these minutes that he would normally take? That's not an option this year. If someone goes down against Westminster, you just have to keep going because it's all conference games from here on out. So I think that we'll see teams a little rusty in the early going. But that's just going to make it that much more entertaining.
And you remember last year, Waynesburg got off to a pretty rough start under new coach Tim Fusina. But we're going to see how that season, you really can't afford to have such a slow start to the season. But overall, Waynesburg obviously, not returning many guys, as Adam mentioned. You got, 11 freshmen coming in. How do you think this team is going to be able to compete, not only in the shortened format, but within the conference, having so many new guys trying to mesh together?
Believe it or not, Matt, I think this team can be very competitive. I think their ceiling for this season is 6-3. Yes, they are losing some key starters from last year like Frank Bozovic, Brennan Smith, and Cam Auld, but I do think that will make that up. They will return their leading scorer in Isaiah Alonso. Matt Popek, he's back. He averaged over 16 points a game in his sophomore, which was second in the PAC, and he was also first in free throw percentage that year at shooting over 80%. So I think that scoring duo between Alonso and Popek will be dangerous and one of the best in the PAC. And they had a lot of games last season where they split the season series with W&J, St. Vincent, Geneva, and Bethany. So if they can knock off all those teams by playing them only once, that'll set them up for success in the PAC. So I think they could go 6-3 possibly.
Yeah, even without Matt Popek last season, Waynesburg, I think, did pretty well. They ended up going 6-10 in what was Coach Fusina's first season leading the team. Also, when we look at the round-robin format, a bunch of the teams that finished above them, including the top 3 schools, they're going to have to travel to Waynesburg. Waynesburg doesn't have to go on the road to them. So is home court advantage necessarily a big deal? I don't know. But I think anytime you don't have to get on that bus and make treks out to Westminster or Grove City, that's going to help the team a lot. So if Waynesburg takes advantage of those home games that they have, I really like what they can do.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting season for sure. Well, that's going to do it for this segment, but don't worry, we'll be back here on the Waynesburg University Sports Network to give a little bit of a post-game breakdown of what happened in the Waynesburg women's game this past week.
It's a Saturday night. You know what that means. Time to party. Sam is having a good time, watching sports, drinking beer, playing Pong. Not a care in the world for Sam. Nobody at the party stops Sam. They let him walk out the door with his keys, even though he was stumbling, having a hard time to stand up. What happened less than 10 minutes later would change Sam's life forever.
Welcome back to the Waynesburg University Sports Network. The Lady Jackets tipped off their season this past Wednesday against Grove City. They didn't come away victorious. It was a 67-51 loss. Chris, what were your thoughts on the first game of the season for the Lady Jackets?
It was definitely a struggle for the Waynesburg Lady Jackets on opening night. Grove City scored 48 of their 67 points in the paint. That's a number that's going to have to come down for Waynesburg if they want to be successful in the future. But I think overall there are a few positives to take away from the game. First of all, they were without Brooke Fuller, arguably their most impactful player, as well as Casey Castrol, who's a valuable member of the team. And for a while, they were hanging tough with Grove City, the defending PAC champions. Abigail Green, a junior, in her first year on the team, she had a double-double in her first ever game with the Jackets. Andrea Orlowski, a senior on the team, led them with 18 points, a really solid game from her. But one thing Waynesburg is going to have to do in the future is cut down on the turnovers. As a team, they gave the ball away 26 times. Each player who saw action in the game turned the ball over at least once. Waynesburg's going to have to clean that up if they're going to have success in the future.
Adam?
Yeah, I think part of those 26 turnovers, Chris, that contributed to that was Grove City's full court press, and they really don't press on like any other. No other team presses like Grove City does in the PAC, so they won't have to worry about that anymore. It seemed like pretty much watching the game yesterday, right when Waynesburg was trying to cross half court, they would get double team or triple team, then that's where they would cause the bad pass or Grove City would get a steal. So they got 26 turnovers, and another thing that they have to improve on if they want to win games is free throws. They were 12 of 21 from the free throw line, 57%. You are not going to win many games if you turn the ball over 26 times and have a 57% free throw percentage. Another positive that I want to point out is the defense. The defense, they played pretty well. They did force 20 turnovers from Grove City, and another thing, they forced Grove City to only shoot 35% and 2 of 20 from 3. So I think those are the two main positives that Waynesburg should take away from this game. And also, Marley Wolf, her first college game, she started 11 points. And also, Avery Robinson, her first college game, she had the start as well.
Yeah, I mean, this was a good game in the second half for Waynesburg. They outscored Grove City 13-11 in the third quarter, got outscored 25-21 in the fourth quarter. So they managed to hang tight in that second half. It was just the first half of basketball. Like we said, they only had 7 people playing. They were shorthanded, so you can't expect them with that many people to perform super well. And the fact that, they were playing a ton of minutes and they improved in the second half as opposed to doing worse in the second half, I think that's a good sign for things to come in the future. And like Chris mentioned, they didn't have Brooke Fuller. They were missing Casey Castrol. Anika Dansby had a quiet game. I'm expecting her to improve as the season progresses. So I think there's a lot of things that, yeah, this was a disappointing loss, especially in a short season. You don't want to lose like this to start the year. But overall, there's definitely a lot of positives. And like you said, the free throw shooting, that's one of those things that in the future, I expect that to improve. I don't think they're going to spend the season hovering around 60% free throw shooting. I think that should go up. So we're going to see what happens there. But overall, what type of impact do you think Brooke Fuller, Casey Castrol are going to have for the Lady Jackets once they're able to return?
Well, like I said, they gave up way too many points in the paint. Brooke Fuller, 6 feet tall, the starting center on the team. Her presence, I think, will really help them in that regard. Also, Adam mentioned they were able to force 20 turnovers, but they weren't scoring off of those turnovers. They only had 12 points off of Grove City's 20 giveaways. That is going to go up when you add Brooke Fuller back in, when you add Casey Castrol, who's, she's able to hit from downtown. She's able to get out in transition as well. So I think getting those two back is really going to help Waynesburg. And, like we said, Grove City, they're the defending PAC champions. You're not supposed to beat them. If Waynesburg had come in shorthanded and beaten them, it would have been a huge upset. So I think there's a lot of positives for them moving forward.
Yeah, for Brooke Fuller, she's just someone that brings to this team is someone that can get a bucket really anytime they need to. She was first in the conference last season in field goal percentages. She shot over 50% and averaged 16 points per game. So that's what she will bring back to this team when she returns. And as far as Casey Castrol, it's her three-point shooting. Allie Delaney last year, she was the main three-point threat for Waynesburg, but now she's graduated. Now Casey Castrol, she was second last year in three-pointers made for Waynesburg. She will be in that main role as that three-point shooter, I think, to replace Allie Delaney. So when these two come back, we don't know when they will. It's going to be huge.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those things. We're going to see what type of impact they're able to have. And the other thing about this Grove City game, they got out-rebounded 53-39. Brooke Fuller, whenever she's in games like that, they're going to rebound a lot better. So that's one of those things that without Brooke, they got out-rebounded. They couldn't seem to get the ball from Grove City. And, you know, Brooke's presence is going to help them. She's going to improve on that. But we're going to have to see what happens with the rest of the season once she returns and once Casey Castrol's back in action. That's going to do it for us here talking about the women's team. But whenever we come back, we're going to break down the games around the PAC on the men's side of things. Stay tuned here on the Waynesburg University Sports Network.
Have you ever been to the Everly Library? If not, you should, because it's great. They have books of all different genres: history, biography, fiction. Try The Evolution of Life, Life of Pi, or Jurassic Park. So what if books aren't your thing? Try movies like Frozen, or TV shows like Lost. Books and DVDs aren't the only thing though. Take a trip to the second floor. Welcome to the Writing Center. These tutors will tell you everything you need to know about writing a paper, and they'll help revise your essays. Now let's head back down. Behold, the Knox Learning Center. Need to print something out 5 minutes before your next class because you procrastinated? No problem. You can also print off pictures of dogs. Because, well, you can. So grab your homework, laptop, and textbook, and study diligently. Bring your lunch too. Actually, you can't. That's illegal. Now you know the Everly Library. Stop by anytime. Seriously, it's open all week.
Welcome back to the Waynesburg University Sports Network. Not only does Waynesburg have their first game of the season, but there's other games around the PAC. The two games that are happening today, W&J versus Chatham and St. Vincent versus Geneva. So we're going to break down these games, give our predictions, and see what we're expecting out of these teams. So Adam, we'll start over here with you. What are your thoughts on the W&J game?
This is a very interesting game, Matt. Chatham and W&J, they split their season series last year, and both these teams finished towards the top half of the PAC. Chatham finished second, and W&J finished fourth. And I like W&J to win this game. They have 4 starters back and also go along with 2 of their 3 top scorers. And Cameron Seaman, who averaged 12.4 points per game, and Prima Zini, who averaged 10 points per game. And Zini, he did not start last season, so you would think he'd be in that starting lineup this season. So they have a lot coming back on Chatham. They lost their leading scorer in Will Sandher, and they only have 2 starters back in Malik Potter, who was their second leading scorer at 12.7 points per game, and Marcus Cintrone as well. So I like W&J to win this game. They have more of their starters and core back compared to Chatham.
Chris?
Yeah, and of course Chatham are the team that eliminated Waynesburg in the first round of the PAC playoffs last season. Malik Potter, he was second on the team in terms of scoring last season, led the team in blocks. I think he's very impressive. But like Adam said, W&J, they're returning so many starters, a lot of quality guys coming off the bench as well. I think that they're going to really show improvement this season, and I like them to beat Chatham as well.
Yeah, Potter was a marksman from deep last year. He shot 40% from 3, but I think the loss of Sandher, it's going to be tough to overcome that, and I think, like we said, it's going to take time to figure out your lineup and how that's going to work with losing one of your best players. So I'm leaning towards W&J taking the win in that game, but I think it should be an exciting game nonetheless. But let's jump over to the St. Vincent versus Geneva game. 2 teams that they've lost quite a few guys on their rosters on both sides of this game. Chris, what are your thoughts on this upcoming matchup?
Yeah, so we saw Geneva as a 5 seed last season. Really turned it around in the playoffs and went all the way to the PAC title game. So that was really impressive. There are a couple middle-of-the-pack finishers, Geneva and the St. Vincent Bearcats. Geneva won both games last season, I should point out, by a combined 17 points. They won by 5 at home and then went on the road and beat St. Vincent by 12. This year, though, St. Vincent, they're returning Shamar Bennett. And Bennett has improved his field goal percentage each year. He's improved his numbers in the rebounding category each year. I really like him, and I think he's able to carry St. Vincent, so I'm going with the Bearcats.
Not so fast, Chris. I like the Geneva Golden Tornadoes to win this game. Now, both teams, they're losing some key players from last season. Geneva, they're losing Ethan Moose. He was a 1,500-point scorer. You're not going to get that anymore. And really a surprising loss for St. Vincent. Ethan Moose, he was a senior for Geneva. But for St. Vincent, David Steffen, he's not back. He scored 1,000 points. This would have been his senior year, so they're going to miss him. And also another guy that they miss, who's a key contributor off the bench, was Cleese Helton. He's not coming back either. So I just feel like the only two starters for St. Vincent coming back are Walter Bonds and Shamar Bennett. I feel like they might rely too much on Shamar Bennett, and really they won't get much scoring from anywhere else. But I like Geneva to win this game because they got Matt Vanovich back along with Joel Stutz and Isaac Stacy in their rotation. And the loss of David Steffen, I think, will not only hurt St. Vincent for this game, but for the entire season.
Yeah, I agree. I think, well, both of these rosters, it just feels like, lost so much, and they were really, really powerhouses in the past. I'm going to lean towards St. Vincent getting the win. I think Shamar Bennett's going to have a big first game of the season, but I don't know how that's going to take them through the season in terms of, being able to win the PAC, where I don't see either of these teams winning the PAC. I think this is a rebuilding year for both of these rosters. But that's going to do it for our preview of the other two games, but whenever we come back, we're going to get into the good stuff. Waynesburg versus Westminster. Stay tuned here on the Waynesburg University Sports Network.
Piracy is a crime. If you see someone downloading copyrighted material without paying for it, then you should inform the authorities immediately. If you download any copyrighted material from the internet without paying for it, then you should go to jail.
As we near tip-off time, we're going to break down what's going to happen in today's game of Waynesburg versus Westminster. A close battle last year, 0-2 for Waynesburg against the Westminster Titans. This year, we're going to see if they can change that fortune. So, Chris, what are your thoughts on today's game? What do you kind of see matchup-wise and everything that's going to be key to the success for Waynesburg or Westminster?
All right, so I talked earlier about how teams would be shaking off the rust in the early part of the season. That hasn't really been the case for Westminster, though. They're 2 games into their season already, and they're 2-0, outscoring opponents by 20 points a game. And they actually dropped 99 in their season opener against Franciscan. One guy I want to single out, Isaac Stamatiadis, the PAC Player of the Week. He's been a big part of that. He has a double-double in both of their games so far, but last year he struggled against Waynesburg. In the 2 matchups, he only scored 6 points in each. So I think if Waynesburg wants to have a chance to win today, they have to find a way to slow him down, much like they did last season.
Yeah, Chris, pretty much echoing with what you said. Isaac Stamatiadis, he's a monster on the boards. Last year in the PAC, he was the leading rebounder in the PAC. This year, yes, it's only 2 games, a small sample size, but he's also leading the PAC in rebounds with 12 rebounds in each of the first 2 games. And they also put up 90 points against Bethany. So they're averaging 94.5 points per game in two games. That is just tremendous. Are they going to keep up with that pace? Probably not, but still. Yes, Westminster, they are losing Dylan O'Hara. He was a PAC Player of the Year. He led the PAC at scoring at over 18 points per game. But I really do think his brother, Austin O'Hara, he's in the starting lineup. He can pick up his older brother's slack. And again, Isaac Stamatiadis. I think the key, if Waynesburg wants to win this game, they have to get him in foul trouble. Isaiah Alonso is going to have to attack him in the paint. I think the longer that Stamatiadis is on the bench in foul trouble, the more successful Waynesburg will be on the boards and able to win the rebounding battle.
Yeah, I think it's this Westminster offense has the Brooklyn Nets smiling. They can put up points. So I think that it's going to be one of those keys is how is Waynesburg going to handle things defensively? And again, we don't know because their starting lineup looks very differently. I'm thinking that a guy like Briston Bennett, he's going to have to fill in or replace the Cam Auld rule from last year. Cam Auld may not have put up the biggest numbers, but he was always a hustle guy. You could always rely on him for key steals or key defensive stops late in games because that's just what he did. He hustled. So I think a guy like Briston Bennett is going to have to step up, and we're going to see who else steps up of the young bucks that have made their way in the lineup. And obviously Popek is going to start the season coming off the bench. Is he going to be able to put up points? Is he going to be able to score like he had his first 2 seasons? Or is he going to take a little bit of time to get into a groove, to get himself used to, playing competitive basketball again, because it's been a while. But overall, I'm not sure what to think. I don't know how they're going to stop Stamatiadis. And then Daniel Ritter as well. He put up 31 points already this season in one of the games. The other game, he only put up 4. So it's going to be, does he put up another big game or is he going to have a slow game? It's going to be about what he does as well. So guys, it's about time for us to predict. Chris, who do you have winning this basketball game?
So I have Westminster winning. In addition to Ritter and Stamatiadis, Tyler James also has a double-double in both games for Westminster this season. I think that Waynesburg keeps it close, though. I think that this is the closest win Westminster will have so far this season. But early on, they look like contenders for the PAC title, so I have them winning.
Yeah, I also have Westminster winning, and you mentioned Tyler James. He is second in the PAC in rebounding in only 2 games. They already have 2 games under their belt, so they kind of know how their rotation is. Waynesburg, I think they'll struggle a bit to figure out their rotation. Matt Popek, it's been way over a year since he last played in a basketball game. I think he'll come out a little rusty. I expect him to continue his scoring he had sophomore year, but I think this game he will be a little rusty. But not only him, but the whole Waynesburg team will be rusty, trying to shake all the cobwebs out from not having many players back from last year and having a bunch of new players with all the transfers in the freshmen. So I like Westminster to win by 11 points.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you guys as well. I've got Westminster taking the win. I think they get off to a hot start. This is a team that's already played 2 games. Waynesburg hasn't played any. They have too many new faces in the lineup. I don't see them being able to hang with them score-wise. I think it's going to be an offensive juggernaut for Westminster again this week. And while I think Waynesburg is going to improve in the second half, I don't think it's going to be enough to get them a win. So I think they start the season in the loss column. But hopefully we see some positive signs from some of the younger guys, as well as the return of Matt Popek, and hopefully Isaiah Alonso can continue his dominance. That's going to do it for us here. Whenever we come back, we're going to send it to the Rudy Mariza Fieldhouse with Jack Hillgrove and Nick Callas, who are on the call. Thanks for joining us here on the Waynesburg University Sports Network. That's going to do it for us here in the studio. At halftime, Riley Holsinger has an exclusive interview with Joe Anderko. But for now, we're going to send it down to the Rudy Mariza Fieldhouse for tip-off with Jack Hillgrove and Nick Callas.
The Rudy Mariza Fieldhouse 2021 coverage of Waynesburg University basketball is finally here, ladies and gentlemen. After getting everything shut down last March due to the coronavirus pandemic, getting sent home for the remainder of the spring 2020 semester, a very strange fall semester with limited practice. We are finally here. You're seeing the Westminster Titans on your screen. My name's Jack Hillgrove. My partner's Nicholas Callas. We are ready to go. It's Waynesburg. It's Westminster. We are here. Going to be a good game, Nick. This is the first time that Waynesburg University has played all season long. Westminster, 2 games in. Really impressive numbers, over 90 points in both games, beating West Franciscan, almost laying 100 on them. And then last week, a 90-71 victory over Bethany. It's going to be an interesting uphill battle for these Jackets in a first game.
Oh, it will. I mean, these two teams seem pretty even coming into the season. Westminster right now is in first place. They've won 2 games. The standings right now are rather unique. They're unorthodox right now because so many circumstances have dictated certain teams playing, other teams not. You've got the Westminster as the 1 team, Chatham is the 2, Franciscan is the 3, then 4 through 9, Geneva, Grove City, St. Vincent Teal, Washington and Jefferson and Waynesburg. None of those teams have played yet. And then you have Bethany, who finished last place last season in men's basketball. And Bethany right now has played the most games out of any President's Athletic Conference team, but they have 3 losses. They are 0-3 coming into this season. They're in last place.
And perhaps the biggest storyline heading into 2021 for the Waynesburg University Yellow Jackets is the return of junior guard Matt Popek. Popek played 2 games last season, had a season-ending injury, was sidelined for the entirety of 2021, and he's back, and he's ready to go. A career 16-point-per-game score, an all-PAC guard his freshman and sophomore years, on the fast track for 1,000 points. The ability to, or rather the hindrance of the 9-game schedule, you saw Matt on your screen there, and, you know, obviously being injured last year kind of sidelined him, that ability to get to 1,000 points, but he's back. He's listed as a junior on the roster, and that is going to be a big addition to this Waynesburg University lineup that has Isaiah Alonzo at 6'10", coming back from last year, 14.5 points per game, and Ryan Fehlberg, who I don't think really anticipated to see a lot of minutes last year, and in my opinion turned into one of the better point guards in the President's Athletic Conference, especially down the stretch last year.
He started out a bit slow last year, made some mistakes, but that's okay because, he didn't expect to play. But with the Matt Popek injury, Ryan Fehlberg had to play more often and learn to adjust to NCAA basketball more quickly than a normal freshman would, a standard freshman coming into the association. So Matt Popek starting on the bench in this game, but I'm certainly fascinated to see how the rotation's going to go, how Matt Popek will adjust to getting back in the game, and how Waynesburg will play in his first game this season.
Matt Popek obviously has to get acclimated back to playing speed. He is not in the starting lineup. There are 2 freshmen in the starting lineup for the Waynesburg University Yellow Jackets. Bryson Wilt, a freshman guard from Oakland, Maryland, and Jansen Knotts at 6'4", a freshman guard / forward. 2 sophomores in the lineup, Ryan Fehlberg, the point guard. We mentioned him, and Briston Bennett returning from last year. And the junior, the man in the middle, number 20 at 6'10", Isaiah Alonzo. For the Westminster Titans, senior Daniel Ritter, sophomore Austin O'Hara, the brother of Dylan O'Hara, former PAC Player of the Year. He is no longer with the team. He graduated. Freshman Reese Leone, junior Tyler James, and senior Isaac Stama-Tiadis. Those are your starting 5. The buzzer sounds. Nick and I will step aside. The PA announcer is Nolan Porterfield. We will cover that and our nation's national anthem. Nolan Porterfield introduces the officials, or rather the starting lineups. We'll give you the officials. The two referees are Mario DeBello and Mike Bodie. And the head referee, and this is for our graphics guy in the truck, Riley Holsinger, so you can type this in, buddy, Anthony Ovial, O-V-I-A-L. My name's Jack Hillgrove. My partner is Nicholas Callas. Again, the starting lineups as they are introduced by Nolan Porterfield, our PA announcer from Westminster, Daniel Ritter, Austin O'Hara, Reese Leone, Isaac Stamatiadis, and Tyler James. Bryson Wilt.
His first collegiate start as a freshman.
Yeah, it'll be him and Jansen Knotts. Expect to see, and that's another thing that we have to talk about too, Nick. The turnover from last year's roster to this year's roster is tremendous. You have two freshmen in the starting lineup in Jansen Knotts and Bryson Wilt. Expect to see Will Helton off the bench, a freshman guard. Jake Benhart, a transfer. He's a junior. He's not available today, but Carlton Brown came from Cal Lutheran University, where Coach Fusina was at 2 years ago, and a bunch of other guys that could see some playing time as well. So, the loss of guys like Brennan Smith, guys like Frank Bozovic, Cam Auld. Well, not really Cam Auld. Cam Ald's in the huddle. He's a graduate assistant with Tim Fusina and A.J. Ewell, but you miss a guy like Cam Auld on the floor. Yeah. But Coach Fusina, if you watched our newscast this past week on WCTV, I had the package previewing the men's team, and talking with him last week, he's excited to have these new guys hit the floor. He mentions how young and inexperienced they are, but he also mentions the talent level and the talent potential from this team. And you have 5 guys on the floor right now. One of them isn't Matt Popek. You would expect to see him getting into the starting lineup as the season moves forward and he gets back to game speed. But it's going to be very interesting to see how these new guys in orange and black and wearing white jerseys today get integrated into the fold.
Yeah, I believe the number on Fusina's recruit number this year was 20. So he did a good bit of work to add depth to this Waynesburg University team.
And the Titans win the tip. They shoot at the basket, 2 hour left. In their road blues, gray numerals, and light blue trim. Down low, it's Tyler James, the exciting freshman. He misses a shot there, rather the junior from Youngstown, and here come the Jackets.
That's something to watch by Isaiah Alonso this year. He led in total blocks last season, and he played some good defense there to prevent that shot from going through.
Yeah, he's a force to be reckoned with in the middle is Isaiah Alonso. The Jackets moving around the perimeter, 10 to shoot. Knotts on the wing. Fellberg now driving baseline. Double team. Shot. And it's in! First 2 points of 2021 come from the sophomore from Twinsburg, Ohio, Ryan Fellberg. Jackets up 2 early. Another thing Tim Fusina likes to integrate, and a big part of his game plan is the pack line defense, something you see from the University of Virginia at the Division I level. It caused 2 misses, but an offensive rebound from Isaac Stamatiadis. That's really not that much of a breakdown. Stamatiadis this season averaging 12 rebounds a game and has been one of the better forwards in the PAC for the last 4 years. He's a senior from Elkridge, Maryland. Here comes Isaiah Alonso. Spin, shot, miss, but a good rebound underneath Knotts. Put back, no good. And there's Stamatiadis again on the rebound. And you'll see him do this a lot, bring it up the floor. It's Daniel Ritter on the wing. 3 ball on the way from Stamatiadis is Cash. Stamatiadis 5, Waynesburg 2. And a soft press and a whistle comes from Mario DeBello. And the possession arrow seems to have came unplugged or something. There's John Glenn Davis, the best scoreboard / possession arrow operator in the PAC, Waynesburg PA zone, John Glenn Davis, and I'll stand by that.
I agree with that. Very nice man and very talented at keeping all the numbers and stats in order for us.
One heck of a football player at this university too, once upon a time. Timeout over. Here comes Fellberg up the floor, tipped, and it'll stay with Waynesburg. Leone and Ritter did a good job of trapping Fellberg far side, but
Yeah, I mean, this year, though, Feldberg, last year he probably would have lost possession of that, would have panicked, but this year, seen a couple plays where he was smooth with the ball, kept possession, or made a smart play that helped out the entire team.
And you don't need to be a basketball expert. Here's Alonzo. Shot, good defense underneath by Tyler James. You don't need to be a basketball expert to be able to tell that if you look at a picture of Ryan Feldberg a year ago and now, he's bulked up big time.
Absolutely.
Inside, Austin O'Hara to the corner, James, 15 on the shot clock. Stamatiadis again a three. Jeez, that's good. He's got 8, his team has 8, and a whistle. Again, another stoppage in play. An issue with the table.
Well, now if you've seen us down there, if you look at the bottom of your screen, he's talking to one of the officials. That's the second time in a row now that Waynesburg had possession in transition and after the basket.
Yeah.
That's
a good point. Normally you'll see the benches on the opposite side, but just like with a lot of things, COVID has shifted not only this season around, but we get underway, the benches are underneath of us. You see Kevin Soroki, the head coach of the Titans, underneath at the bottom of your screen.
Well, I'd argue that they're not really benches anymore. You've got a section for players, a section for athletic training staff.
Yeah. Jansen Knotts knocks down the triple, 8-5. 16:53 remaining in half number 1. I'm going to say that a lot because I've been announcing high school basketball all winter, so I'm used to quarters, and that's not the case in NCAA men's basketball. There are 2 20-minute halves. James driving left side of the lane is fouled. It's against Isaiah Alonzo. First foul on Alonzo, and I believe the first foul of the game for, either team. They're going to call it on the floor, so Westminster will trigger underneath of its own basket. Leone to Stamatiadis. To James, inside, good play call. Draws the foul, does Daniel Ritter off a shot underneath.
Yeah, that was Bryson Wilton in there. He was coming in way too aggressive, but he had to, because if not, that would have been an open shot for Ritter.
Yeah, it's just X's and O's from one of the best in the PAC, and Kevin Soroki in his 9th season as the head coach of the Westminster Titans. Played overseas in Belize. 1993 graduate of Westminster, has been a coach in this conference for a very long time. First free throw good from Daniel Ritter, the senior, coming back, one of the players to watch in the PAC this year from North Lima, Ohio. Averaging 17.5 coming into the days, on the board with 2. And the Titans have a 5-point lead. And again, the third time that Waynesburg has tried to bring the ball up the floor after a basket.
Now that is crucial. If you're not too into basketball, getting the ball out quicker while the defense is still transitioning over to the opposite side of the court, that's a big deal. That could allow Waynesburg to get some of its players open and make a play on scoring in the basket. But since they have to stop, that allows Westminster to pause and readjust its defense. And now you see here Westminster's been pressing these last couple defensive starts for them. So that's more of an advantage to Westminster when Waynesburg has to stop in transition.
On the right wing, Feldberg. Knotts back to Feldberg, 15 on the shot clock. You see that at the top right corner of your screen. Here goes Knotts again in the middle. Back out, 10 on the shot clock. Waynesburg trails by 5. Feldberg calls for the screen. Alonzo, good defense. Inside's a wide open Knotts, and the layup is good. Jansen Knotts has 5. As Briston Bennett goes flying into the table, it'll stay Westminster basketball, and here he comes, ladies and gentlemen. Into the basketball game for the first time in almost a whole year. Matt Popek into the game.
It's actually been a little over a year.
Yeah, I guess it would be. What, 13 and a half, 14 months? There you see him on your screen, the sensation from Washington, PA. First guy off the bench for the Waynesburg Yellow Jackets. 15 to shoot for the Titans. Leone at the top of the key, over to the left wing. Underneath James on Alonzo. Good no-look pass to Ritter, but the shot's deflected by Wilt. Rebound Stamatiadis underneath. He's fouled on the putback. He'll go to the line for 2 more. Foul goes against Jansen Knotts, his first. Another thing, too, and I noticed the one official did this earlier. right? You're a referee, you ref basketball, you go to the scores table for the foul. But again, social distancing purposes at the scores table, the young lady keeping the official book is on the opposite side underneath of us. So that's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, you should say. First one no good from Stamatiadis.
Yeah, so they've got all the personnel who run the scoreboard and the public address announcer, and then one stat person is over at the table. The rest of the sports information department, so the people who are keeping the book, the people who are running the online stats, the online live stats, they're sitting at a table in the bleachers.
Stamatiadis makes the second one. He has 9 of Westminster's 11 points. Up 4, 15:37 to go first half.
And speaking of the COVID restrictions, each school has the option to let fans in. Only the ones on campus, though, as there's a scrum here.
Yeah, that's a good point. Jump ball, it'll stay with the Jackets. And for a majority, from what Athletic Director Adam Jack has told me, is that a lot of the schools, and I don't have the list at the top of my head, which some are letting in students, but a majority of the PAC member schools have elected to not let fans in.
Most are letting inside media, though, the big communication schools like us.
Yeah, and that's why we're here to give you the game. Here's Matt's first shot. No good. Offensive rebound. Welcome back. Boy, did I miss hearing Popek.
I did too.
From the public address here at the Rudy Marisa Fieldhouse. Waynesburg down 2. Leone for 3. Off the front end of the iron, there's a rebound. Popek knocked out of bounds underneath by Austin O'Hara. It'll stay Jackets ball. Wilt checks out, and in comes Jake Benhart, junior at 6'5", from Indiana, Pennsylvania, transfer from Grinnell College last year, played his freshman year at Edinburgh Division II school.
While we're observing Matt Popek's first points, the last game he played was on November 16th, 2019 against Allegheny College. Scored 13 points in that game. That was the last time he ever recorded a point for Waynesburg University before today.
So 15 months.
Yeah.
He's got the ball, 10 to shoot. Right corner, Felberg for 3. Off the side of the rim, Knotts almost grabbed the offensive board, but into and out of his hands and into the hands of Isaac Stamatiadis. He has it now, guarded by Knotts. Step back is in and out. Alonzo the rebound. Another thing too, though, a lot of these guys that Fusina has brought in, Coach Fusina has brought in this year, that's played. Bryson Wilt, Jansen Knotts, Jake Benhart into the game. They're long guards, 6'3", 6'4". Benhart listed at 6'5". Haven't seen Will Helton yet, number 12 from Hollidaysburg. He's expected to play, 6'4". These are guys that can play on the wing that have some length to them. There's a 3 from Felberg that goes in and out. And again, the other way comes Westminster, up 2. Stamatiadis inside, Bulls over Jansen Knotts, and it's an offensive foul.
Yeah, typically for officials, as long as you keep your feet set and you're playing defense, you can get away with staying in a position. So I guess Knotts kept his feet set.
Yeah, that's the toughest call in basketball to make, a charge or a block, and it's one of those things that it's so bang bang 1-2, whatever cliche you want to use to describe it. It's almost impossible to be able to break that down for the human eye to see it slowly and make the correct call. Some are more obvious than others, but nonetheless, a good job from Jansen Knotts, the freshman from Ridgely, West Virginia, to use the body and make a play. Also leads the Jackets in scoring with 5. He's got 5. Matt Popek with 2. Felberg with 2. There's Felberg underneath, a big save. Benhart, back to Felberg. Shot fake. Popek thought about a 3, he'll drive it. Nope, kick it back out. 13 to shoot. Alonzo lost it, got it back. Driving inside, Isaiah Alonzo and 1. Isaiah Alonzo and 1 for the big fella from Chandler, Arizona. Leone on the foul. That ties the game, and a timeout is called. .18 left on the first half clock, 11 apiece the score. Isaiah Alonzo's free throw in a moment will be able to perhaps take the lead.
Hey, and don't forget, coming up at halftime, Riley Holsinger will sit down with PAC Commissioner Joe Anderko, and the two will talk about getting sports underway, dealing with the pandemic, and much more. It immediately follows the end of the first half. You won't want to miss it. Riley Holsinger and PAC Commissioner Joe Anderko.
Yeah, we recorded that earlier in the week, and Commissioner Anderko has a background in sports information before he became the commissioner of the PAC, communications, things of that nature, and thinks very fondly of us here at Waynesburg University, and we are very fortunate enough to be able to have that connection and give him some good stuff. And he's a great interview every single time, so you won't want to miss that. He and Riley talk about some good stuff. It's coming up at halftime. Free throw from Alonzo is through. It's got 3 points, and Waynesburg's got its first lead. 12-11. There's James, a shot from the top of the circle, a two-pointer, no good. Ball tipped into the hands of Ryan Felberg, and he brings it up the floor. Knotts on the left wing, inside Alonzo again. Jay, turnaround, no good. Rebound goes to the Titans. Leone, 2 dribbles, a shot off the side of the rim, and Knotts the rebound. Another thing that was a question coming into this season with Popek coming back, you had Ryan Felberg tote the ball up the floor all season last year. Jake Benhart, welcome to the squad. Waynesburg up 4. Who was going to carry the ball up the floor? Because Matt Popek was the starting point guard for 2 years. Comes back, it seems to have still be Ryan Felberg. It'll be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out this year. There's Anthony Ritter who checks in. Back out to Daniel, his brother, for 3 off the side of the rim, but Westminster hauls in the miss. Ritter again, a 3. The shot, good, doesn't count. They wave it off. I think they reset the shot clock, and they weren't supposed to because the ball hit the rim.
Yeah, a few mistakes from the table today that are proving costly now for both sides.
It's one of those things that, you got to get back into the swing of things almost. Everybody's got some rust on them. Will Helton checks into the game. Freshman from Hollidaysburg, as well as Andrew Clark and Austin O'Hara back in for Westminster. They have the ball, 15 to shoot, 11:50 to go. Top of the key, 3 ball, Stama Tiatis off the back end of the iron. There's another offensive board for the Titans. Clark missed, got it back, missed again, and Popek stole it away. Jackets up 4. Felberg, right wing, looking inside for Alonzo. He's going to get it to him. Guarded by James. Turnaround, Isaiah Alonzo. He's got 5. Anthony Ritter the rebound.
Anthony Ritter and Daniel Ritter, the first twin pair I've seen on the same sporting team.
Corner, Ritter, back to Ritter, brother connection. Misses the 3, Popek up for the rebound, got it lost by Daniel Ritter, and he traveled.
Yeah, that was some awkward footing there. He had to jump over one of the Waynesburg players who was on the ground, but didn't dribble in the process of doing so, which led to the travel call.
Timeout on the floor, 10:09 left first half, Waynesburg up 4. If you're enjoying our content, check out more of it right here on our YouTube page, WUDP. You'll find shows about sports, news, politics, entertainment, and much more. And always, if you have any suggestions, contact our faculty advisor, Melinda Roeder. Her email's at mroeder, R-O-E-D-E-R, at waynesburg.edu. Also, follow us on Twitter for some bonus content. Andrew Riaz chiming away with the score updates on the WU Sports Network Twitter. You can follow WCTV at WCTV_Waynesburg, and the WUSN Twitter account as well at WU Sports Network. Timeout over. Nicholas Callas, you said the foul was on Jake Benhart.
It was.
His first, team 4th. He's got a foul. Jansen Knotts, Isaiah Alonso, Bryson Wilt each with one. And the 2 fouls for Westminster, Reese Leone and Isaac Stamatiadis. Boy, is it good to be back in this field house and announcing some basketball.
It's still foreign, though, just because of all the COVID specifications. Again, no fans. Waynesburg University elected not to let any students in and no outsiders can come in. But, yeah, why I say that they're not technically benches is because you've got the athletic trainers who usually are on the bench. They've got their own section on one of the baselines. You see it on your screen there. Then you have the players and coaches. They're on each side of the bleachers, one on the left side, one on the right side from our vantage point. Then you have different sports stat people on the table, and then there's a table over in the bleachers.
You just saw that on your screen. Isaiah Alonso, I think he had, I don't know if he was bleeding. I think that's what the stop and play was. Well, now he's got number 50 on as he sits at the scorer's table. Had to change his jersey for the athletic department. There you see him on your screen. Isaiah Alonso, normally number 20. He's going to wear number 50.
It kind of suits him, just a 2 backwards, kind of, just a same shape, different direction.
Sure. I think it was one of those things where something was wrong with the jersey, and they're going to keep the 6'10" guy in the game, so he's going to be like, throw me one. It could have like Goldberg in the longest yard. It could have the letter X on it and keep him in the game. So timeout over, halfway through half number 1. Waynesburg up 4. There you see Jake Scheidt into the game, another lengthy guard at 6'4" coming in. Popek. Inside Alonso, guarded by Ritter. One-on-one. There's a step back from Isaiah Alonso. Cash money. Or did he miss that? I guess he did miss that. It looked like it went in from my angle. I apologize.
No,
But he got it back, put it up. Shot clock violation, Westminster ball. So still it's 17-13. 9:30 left, half number 1. There's James, a shot, and it's off the backboard and in. 17-15.
Tyler James was his first 2, but Isaac Stamatiadis is the one still leading scores for Westminster with 9.
The other way. James, again the bucket. Good. Just like that, this game is tied. 17 apiece. 9 minutes remaining, half number 1. So Westminster coming into a little bit of a scoring uptick. Here's Popek, a floater off the front end of the iron. No good, and here come the Titans again. Alonso inside, and he's going to be called for the foul. Second foul on Isaiah Alonso. 8:45 remaining in half number 1. And underneath it's O'Hara to inbound, and he'll throw it out to his safety valve and Daniel Ritter. Spin move, Anthony Ritter with some contact, shot no good, but another offensive rebound underneath and a putback, this time for Andrew Clark. So Waynesburg back down 2. There's a turnover. Benhart looking for Helton, and here's a 3-ball left wing. In and out, foul as Scheidt went up to try and get the rebound, and I believe they're going to get Jake Scheidt on the foul. They are. His first team, number 6.
Team 6.
Eight offensive rebounds for the Westminster Titans so far. O'Hara, shot no good, and Waynesburg finally able to track down a miss, but Westminster pesky on defense. Anthony Ritter getting a hand on it, knocking it out of bounds. And as I see him walk back to the scorer's table, Isaiah Alonso's got number 20 back on.
You know, back to Westminster's defense, they've been playing press for most of this game when Waynesburg's tried to go onto its offensive side.
Felberg to Benhart, a 3. Off the side of the rim, and a good job boxing out of Daniel Ritter. Here come the Westminster Titans up 2. 3-ball corner. Ritter is in and out. Good job of boxing out by Jansen Knotts, and that's going to be an over-the-back call on Tyler James. His first, team third. Westminster doing a good job staying out of team foul trouble. Only 3 team fouls. 7:35 left rather in half number 1. Waynesburg has 6. One more foul, and it'll put the Jackets, or rather the Titans, into the bonus. Felberg picks up the dribble. He's got to get somebody. Westminster doing a really good job defending those wing players. Here's Scheidt with 10 to shoot at the top of the key. Knotts to the middle. Right wing, wide open 3-ball. Felberg misses off the backside of the iron, but a good job on the offensive rebound by Jake Scheidt. The shot clock didn't reset. The 2 officials will communicate, or rather all 3 of them will. That ball absolutely hit the rim, and the shot clock should have reset. Are they going to count the basket? I believe so.
Does Scheidt?
It was. It should be. They didn't put the points on the board yet. Are they not going to count that basket?
I think they're telling the scoreboard operator to put the 2 more points on the board.
It would be nice for them to communicate.
There we go.
There it is. Okay.
Jake Scheidt for 2.
Yeah, they seem to have talked about it, agreed upon it, and didn't tell anybody. Yeah, the basket's good. Okay. 7:03 left first half. It's 19 apiece.
You can't say this is unexpected. This will happen when you haven't hosted a basketball game in over a year.
Top of the key, Stamatiadis inside to Ritter. Turnaround on the Jackets, Bryson Wilt, foul underneath, and a stoppage in play. Is Adams' camera just not working?
So the foul there called.
It's going to be on Wilt.
Will Helton.
Waynesburg foul number 12, Will Helton.
Check that, Will Helton, number 12, not number 11.
After line for Westminster.
Is it foul on the floor?
No, it was, well, they're in bonus time now. It was a foul on the floor.
Okay, so 1-on-1 opportunity for Austin O'Hara. Averaging 9 points a game coming in, the sophomore from Girard, Ohio. Front end of the 1-on-1 is good. He's on the board. His brother Dylan, one heck of a ball player once upon a time for the Waynesburg Yellow Jackets, and then transferred to Westminster. Second one good. Recruited by Mark Christner, transferred to Westminster, and capped off his career with being PAC Player of the Year.
Only the second in Westminster history.
21-19. Westminster up top by 2 points. 6.5 left first half. Wilt at the top of the key. Felberg inside. Floater is off the side of the rim, and here come the Titans. Corner shot from Skinner, no good. There's an offensive rebound from Stamatiadis, and he traveled. Don't think he agreed with the call, but nonetheless, before the travel, I thought he might have went over and back on Popek, but nonetheless, no foul, but a turnover, and it's Waynesburg basketball. Some numbers for you at this point in the game. Westminster shooting at 27% from the field, Waynesburg 36%. Westminster out-rebounding Waynesburg 20-11. Stamatiadis, 7 rebounds thus far in this game, 9 points. There's Matty for 3. Off the back end of the iron, no good. And Stamatiadis make it 8 rebounds. Averages 12, on pace for 16. Is the senior from Elkridge, Maryland. And there's a 3 from the corner for Andrew Clark, and he's got 5.
And again, Westminster pressing on the backcourt.
Yeah, it's looked like it's given the Jackets some fuss, but there's a breakdown, and inside from Knotts. Shot fake to Hilton. Shot no good. They're going to call it out of bounds as it hit the top of the square. And another timeout. 5:20 left first half. And the Jackets will take a full timeout.
And don't forget, coming up at the half, Riley Holsinger will sit down with PAC Commissioner Joe Anderko. And the two will talk about getting sports underway, dealing with the pandemic, and much more. It immediately follows the end of the first half. You won't want to miss it. The interview that Riley Holsinger had with PAC Commissioner Joe Anderko.
And there you see second-year head coach Tim Fusina, who called the full timeout. Waynesburg with 4 timeouts left. Westminster with all 5. And my guy Riley Holsinger, look at him go. 5:20 left on the game clock. He's got it matched up perfectly. He's got the timeouts perfect. The possession arrow. Everybody's doing one heck of a job in that trailer outside of the field house. Our director's Matt Mansfield. Truck Tech Jay Hawk from RPC Video. Again, a huge thank you to those guys. Bob Hawk and Steve Obenreeder down here earlier in the week with the setup. Jay's here handling everything technical in the back of the truck. A couple of snafus early in the day, but we got it all figured out, and we're giving you this game. Ben Champ's our audio guy. Tanner Saprowski's our technical director. Jeremiah Miller back in the producer's chair. Carter Newcomb was in there earlier helping out. I don't know if he left or not, but and the rest of our crew, our camera operators, Adam Morganti, Bruce Davidson, Brock Owens, Andrew Ria, our social media coordinator and stage manager, are up here with us in the bleachers. And our youths helping out, Tyler Zeman, Logan Lepiscopo, Alex Hughes, Nick Staso, and helping out everything technical as well. Waynesburg down 5. There's Fellberg with the ball and a foul away from the ball. It's against Jansen Knotts.
Knotts with 2 personal. Waynesburg now with 8.5.
Jansen Knotts, his second, team 8th.
That's interesting. They're inbounding.
The foul away from the ball, offensive foul. That doesn't give you the one-and-one opportunity. Underneath, Stamatiadis, 1 dribble layup. Off the back into the rim. Rebound into the hands of Clark. Ball tipped out of bounds. Last touched by a Jacket. I think Fellberg had it because he was chasing it. And it'll stay with Westminster.
Well, speaking of Stamatiadis and him making a shot opportunities, he hasn't scored in roughly 10 minutes now. He was at 9 early in the game, but Waynesburg has kept him from scoring recently.
Yeah, it's good defense. Underneath. He gets his own miss. Has it pulled away from, thanks to Will Helton, and it's Jacket ball. Wilt falls. Got to pick it up. Has Popek. Good help from Popek and Fellberg on either side. Good communication there. Popek tosses it out of bounds off of Austin O'Hara, and it'll stay with the Jackets. 4:15 left first half.
Just thinking about Bryson Wilt, too, when he fell down. The wherewithal to keep dribbling. That's some experienced play there. Good job by him.
Recent graduate of the department, Edward Bennett Diorio, at the W&J Chatham game, operating a camera. Texts me a final score, W&J 65, Chatham 59 final. Chatham, one of the better programs in the PAC the last couple of years, and is now 1-1. W&J 1-0. Fellberg underneath. The shot clock down under 1 second, but before that, they're going to say he stepped on the end line, and it'll be Westminster basketball. 3:52 left first half. Jackets down 5. Also, did I mention this to you before? I wanted to, when I was making the graphic, I wanted to find like a digital type font for the clock. Font in our graphics system is called Black Ops, like Call of Duty.
Yes,
it's pretty neat.
It is.
They have an Avengers font. Minecraft font.
What's the program you used?
It's New Blue Title Editor. It's a software that we have on our computers.
Huh.
And Guardians of the Galaxy font, but they just they're so huge and would look dumb, so I didn't pick those. Underneath, James off the rim a couple of times and in. Tyler James has 6 points. And Westminster stretches its lead to 7. Wilt through traffic. Jump stop at the elbow. Shot is good.
Bryson Wilt.
There's his first 2 points as a jacket. Bryson Wilt, the freshman from Oakland, Maryland, cuts it to 5. 3:10 left first half. Here's Stamatiadis. Again, Callas mentioning that he's been out of the scoring column recently, but this guy, Andrew Clark, knocks down his second 3-ball of the game. He's got 8. And it's an 8-point lead now for the blue and gray. Wilt again underneath, kicking it back out, or at least trying to, and it's poked away. Leone in transition to the left wing, a 3-ball again. Clark, heat check, misses everything. Stamatiadis, the offensive rebound. His putback is nothing because he's fouled. And a 1-and-1 opportunity coming up for the Jackets, or rather the Titans, as Bryson Wilt for the Jackets commits his second foul of the game.
At the line for Westminster, number 20.
Ronnie Zeiler Jr. from Bethel Park into the ball game, giving Will Helton a breather. Front end of the 1-and-1 forthcoming for Stamatiadis. Misses in and out. Zeiler the rebound.
Stamatiadis was 8 for 12 on free throws entering play, and last season he shot 70%. But in this game, he's 1 of 4.
Yeah, Westminster not shooting it very well. It was 27% a couple of minutes ago. Benhart a 3. Wide open, misses off the back end of the iron, no good. Westminster now up to 30% from the field. Stamatiadis trying to stop the drought, misses off the side of the rim, but again, nope, there it is, over the back. Not going to get away with that every time, sir. He's been pretty good all afternoon, jumping over people and getting rebounds, but it was absolutely an infraction, his second foul. 4th team foul. Waynesburg down 8 with 2 minutes exactly on that first quarter. There it is again. First half clock. Benhart on the right wing looking inside. Uses that pivot foot, dribbles it back out. Scheidt into the game, 7 to shoot. Waynesburg's got to go. Scheidt gets caught in a trap, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, has it poked away, and the shot clock expires on Waynesburg. Good defense from the Westminster Titans.
I will say this, even though there are no fans in the stands, the benches or the players in their isolated groups are making enough noise where it feels like there's still a significant amount of people in here.
Yeah, I must say that these bleachers to our left underneath the basket being collapsed kind of make me sad, because the student section would absolutely be out in full force today, but got to adjust to the times for sure. There's a miss from Westminster. Waynesburg the other way. Alonzo underneath, shot no good, but a foul. Good job underneath from Isaiah Alonzo. The foul on Westminster's against Alex Mullen.
His first, team 5th.
5th team foul against Westminster, his first. Mullen, the sophomore 6'3" guard from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania.
Number 20, Isaiah Alonzo.
And Alonzo will be at the line for 2, try and cut this lead to 2 possessions for Waynesburg, or rather deficit for Waynesburg. First one good. He's got 6.
Well, he converted an and 1 earlier in the game when the score was a bit closer.
Yep.
Now he's 2 for 2.
And another thing, too, about Isaiah Alonzo, typically you don't see big guys. That's one of the basketball stereotypes. Second one good, he's got 7. Typically you don't see big guys shoot the free throw well, right? You can go back and watch Shaquille O'Neal shoot free throws. It was some of the funniest thing you'll ever see. But Isaiah Alonzo at 6'10", last year led for a majority of the season as James knocks down a jumper. He's got 8. 50 seconds left first half. Isaiah Alonzo led the conference in free throw percentage, around 87%. There's a turnover. The other way, here comes Westminster quickly. Leone, layup, no good, but draws the foul from Alonzo, and he's got 3.
Yeah, not good to be at 3 in the first half because the foul out number is 5.
Yep.
I think he was arguing because he put his hands up, but even though he didn't have his hands up, but even though his body still hit into.
Yeah, there you see the foul one more time. There's Jeremiah Miller going to work on the replay.
Yeah, see his chest kind of got in there.
Yeah, that's just incidental contact, but by the book, that's a foul. Big J on the replay. First one good.
So back at the sports announcing camp of 2016 and 17, Jeremiah Miller and I attended it together.
Yeah.
Very nice man. I've known him for a while now. West Green guy.
Home of the Pioneers. Second one good. Leone averages 13 and a half a game this season, but only with 2 thus far. Here come the Jackets the other way, down 10. Scheidt inside, good no look to Zeiler, has it knocked away and into the hands of the Titans. Good find from Scheidt, but better defense. It seems like the closer the Jackets are getting to the basket as the shot clock turns off, 20 seconds, Westminster's clamping defensively underneath and doing a really good job of knocking it away and making it tough for the Jackets underneath. 12 seconds, into the corner, a 3-ball Clark, good. Leads all scores with 11, 3 seconds, Felberg. They got to go. Good defense. Felberg to Bennett. No shot, and Kevin Soroki and the Westminster Titans are pumped up as the first half concludes with the score Westminster 36, Waynesburg 23. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break, 30 seconds. Nick and I will come back. We'll give you the point totals. We'll take one more break, and then we'll sit down and listen to Riley Holsinger interview PAC Commissioner Joe Anderko. We'll be back in 30 seconds with the scoring totals from the first half here on the Waynesburg University Sports Network. A 23-6 run to end the half for the Westminster Titans. They lead at 36-23 at the end of the first half. I'm Jack Hillgrove. My partner is Nicholas Callas. Nick will have the second half play-by-play for you, but before that, he's going to give you a statistical rundown. Nick, take it away.
Yeah, so it was a pretty even first half despite the score. I mean, that 23-6 run was the differential that allowed Westminster to gain the lead, but field goal percentage is pretty close. Westminster has a 32% compared to Waynesburg's 33%, so those are close. Three-point percentages, Westminster has made 5 of 15, 33%, and Waynesburg has made 20% of their three-point attempts, 2 for 10. Free throw percentages, Waynesburg perfect, 3 for 3. Westminster's taken more free throws, but a lesser percentage, 77%, 7 for 9. Waynesburg has 15 rebounds compared to Westminster's 26. Isaac Stamatiadis has a majority of those for Westminster. And assists, Westminster with 7, Waynesburg with 4. And turnovers, Waynesburg has 5 and Westminster has 5 turnovers, Waynesburg has 8 turnovers.
Shout out to Jarrett Choi doing video for Bobby Fox in the Sports Information Department, and you're going to get a live reaction. Taking pictures of us too, look at this one.
Oh. Oh my goodness!
We're in total awe and a question of I think that was the bucket underneath. But anyway, good stuff from Jarrett. We're killing it here with the Department of Communication in all facets. And we'll show you more of that here right now. Riley Holsinger sat down earlier in the week with President's Athletic Conference Commissioner Joe Anderko. Great interview. Let's play it for you.
Welcome back into the Waynesburg University Sports Network halftime show. I'm Riley Holsinger. I am joined alongside the President's Athletic Conference Commissioner, Joe Anderko. Joe, thank you so much for joining me and taking the time out of your day to do this.
Sure, Riley. Happy to join you.
So we've waited a long time. I know I've waited a long time. I'm assuming you've probably waited a long time since we've had sports in the President's Athletic Conference. Take us through what the meetings looked like with the athletic directors and the other administrators to try and get the ball rolling.
Well, I mean, this has been 10 months in the making. I mean, even going back to when the first championships were canceled back in March in the spring, and then prepping all summer for a fall that you hope is going to happen, but you realize there are a lot of things out of your control. And then ultimately, reluctantly having to come to the conclusion to postpone fall sports into the spring. And then, also pushing the start of the winter back. We knew pretty early we weren't going to start before January 1st. And so our goal through that whole fall period was, let's do what we have to do to give ourselves a chance, so that if the circumstances permit, that we'll be ready to be up and running with basketball and with other sports in by mid-January. And fortunately, we've been able, at least so far, to do that. I say that knowing that nothing's guaranteed. We've still got a long way to go, a lot of hoops to jump through, but we're certainly excited to see our student athletes back on the courts and preparing for the other sports. And we're doing everything we can to keep it as safe as possible and to continue pushing forward.
So take us through to the decision of having a 9-game basketball season. What was the planning process behind that?
Well, basketball, quite frankly, is one of the most difficult sports to deal with in a COVID environment. It's indoors as opposed to outdoors. It's tight proximity. There's no social distancing, and quite frankly, the NCAA guidelines for when you have to shut down a team are very strict. It only takes one positive for an inter-bubble personnel, for a player, a coach, someone, because they're so close to each other every day, to shut a team down, to put them in quarantine for a period of time. So we had hoped originally to do more, but I think reality just kind of laid out that we've got this period of time left to try to get something in and prepare and get a legitimate season with a legitimate tournament and championship. And so given the real difficulties we have, including what we have to do from a testing standpoint for basketball each week, this just was the logical landing spot. Ideally, we'd love to be a year from now back to normal, and I certainly hope we are. But given that, especially that several other conferences in the country in Division III have not been able to get off the ground, we're very fortunate. We have some advantages as far as our geographic proximity and some other things, but I think at this point it's been long enough. I think people are happy to get what they can get, and hopefully we can see it through to the end.
Yeah, hopefully so. And we've already seen Grove City. We had to postpone a game due to that situation over there. So let's say, talk hypotheticals here, if something like that were to happen come the playoff run, what's the plan if that would break out?
Well, first of all, we're constantly in flux with this. And by that, I mean, we have a plan, but there's always a contingency plan, if that makes sense. And I have to be honest with you, Riley. I mean, we could find ourselves in a situation where we get through a regular season and we get to a PAC tournament and we have an outbreak and we have, a team that has to be shut down and they can't participate in the tournament. And that would be really unfortunate, but I think we'd be kidding ourselves if we didn't at least recognize that as a possibility. I do think, we have put a plan in place to have all PAC teams participate in the PAC basketball tournament. So if all 10 are healthy and able to go, we will have a 10-team tournament. We're saying that, and you'll notice in our wording, we always say all teams because we don't know that all 10 teams are going to be in that position. We certainly hope they are. But what we don't want is to exclude somebody from a tournament because they lost a good chunk of their season due to COVID. They might lower them in the seeding, but we still want them to have that opportunity if they're healthy and able to play. So, we will announce that as we get closer to it, what it's going to look like. But I can tell you online right now that our plan is that if we get to the end of the regular season and we have 10 basketball teams that are healthy and ready to go forward, we will have a 10-team basketball tournament, and we will adjust as necessary, as facts on the ground change, basically.
Well, let's talk about challenges right now. So what are some of the challenges that Division III schools have to face compared to Division I schools when it comes to combating COVID?
Well, the biggest challenge is no different than Division I. Quite frankly, our health and safety guidelines that the NCAA has put out, there is no distinction between what we need to do in basketball and what, say, Pitts or Penn State or Duke or anyone else has to do. Our guidelines are we are to test basketball players 3 times a week for COVID. I mean, that's a really high bar on non-consecutive days. But we have schools that have made a commitment to do that in an effort to try to get this season in. As far as what's different for us, I would say that, one of the things I think it's a little easier for us is we don't have the major television cable network contracts where, they for a long time, ESPN has dictated when games are played, much more so than the schools themselves. We don't have that problem to deal with. And we're really fortunate with PAC Sports Network and with you guys, the great campus, coverage that we get, that we can be a little more flexible there, I would say. I'd also say the other advantage we have, quite frankly, is our proximity. I mean, our geographic footprint, having 10 teams within a 2-hour radius of each other and not having to have overnights in hotels, that gives us a real advantage in trying to get things scheduled. And if we need to reschedule them, being able to do so. I mean, much more so than some other leagues. So from a testing and from a health and safety standpoint, our standards are just as high. But I think we have some specific things for the PAC that make this a little more viable option for us than maybe some other leagues.
So let's fast forward a little bit here to the spring season. So what are going to be some of the challenges that are going to come up when you combine having spring sports and having fall sports at the same time?
Well, the first one is obvious, Riley, and it's going to be facility planning. We've only got so much field space. We've only got so much court space, and there's only so many hours in the day. So, you think about trying to, finish up a basketball and volleyball season while at the same time spring sports, baseball, softball are getting ready to go. You've got football getting ready to go. We are going to have a season unlike anything that we've had if we're able to pull this off. It's going to be a real strain, particularly on our support staff. I can't say enough about our athletic trainers and our SIDs, because they're willing to do what we need to do to make this happen. But they're going to bear the brunt of it. They're on the front lines, and they're going to have some real challenges. We're going to have teams practicing at some odd times because we've got so many folks in demand for facilities. So I would say that's the biggest thing. But at the same time, nobody wants to have gone through what we've gone through in the last 10 months. If that's what we have to do for a short period of time to make sure our teams get a season, that we can crown champions, that we can give the best experience possible, then everyone in this conference is willing to do that.
So Waynesburg University opted into not having any fans or any students at games so far. The President's Athletic Conference put it up to schools to allow these teams to have student attendance if they wanted to. Have any other teams or colleges come to you and said that they were going to have students attend their games, or has it been kind of quiet?
A handful, I'd say a minority. I'd say most I'd say the majority are like Waynesburg. And the rationale for that is not because we don't want people to attend. We'd love to have everybody attend, the students and non-students. But what's our priority here? Our priority is to compete safely, to not spread COVID. And the more people you bring into that environment, the greater chance you have of it spreading, of having a lack of containment, which threatens not only the whole season, but threatens the campuses too. So our priorities are we want to finish the semester on campus, and we want to finish the season successfully. So if we have to limit spectators, that's unfortunate, but that's a price that we're willing to pay to make sure our main two priorities take place. I'm really hoping as this semester goes on, if COVID continues to decline, we can take a look at that and possibly lighten that somewhat. But that's really out of our control. It's more dependent on the pandemic and what we feel is safe and healthy to move forward.
Yeah, and kind of bouncing off that question right there, in the press release, it said that those policies will be reviewed coming throughout the season and throughout the winter sports, throughout spring sports. So what do you think it'll end up taking, hypothetically, for fans to return to games to support President's Athletic Conference sporting events?
Well, I think it's going to depend on the sport to a certain degree. You can certainly in outdoor sports have an advantage over that over indoor sports. So I don't know that the standard is necessarily exactly the same across the board for all sports. I think getting, basketball, like I said, is a real challenge. Volleyball in the spring is a real challenge. an outdoor where you can socially distance, where you can mask, where you can have some separation, maybe that bar isn't quite as high. So I'm hesitant to sit here today and say this is what we have to get to. I mean, certainly, what do we want to see? We want to see the virus continue to decline in Western Pennsylvania region, in the Pittsburgh area. We want to see increased penetration of vaccinations in our region. All those things we're going to be looking at, and in addition to kind of the micro data on our campuses, that we want to see those trends going in the right direction. When do you reach a critical mass? Again, I'm hesitant to give you this is the point it's going to happen, other than we want to do that and make that shift only when we know we're really confident that it's safe for us to do so.
All right, thank you so much for joining me once again. Stay tuned to the Waynesburg University Sports Network for the second half of the basketball game.